Hello everyone, welcome to the weekly updates. In today's video, we are going to discuss all the news which were in newspapers from 29th May to 4th June and which are very important for your prelims examination. We will start by discussing the two important report and index which were there in the news. The first one was Global Annual to Decadal Climate Update 2023 to 2027 and State of Global Climate 2022. Both the reports were released by your World Meteorological Organizations. We will see what were the key highlights, etc. in these news. The second will be Joint Malnutrition Estimate. This was a joint estimate released by UNICEF, WHO, World Bank, and we are going to see what are the major highlights of the estimate. Then in the governance section, there were three or four things which were very important. The first one was the inauguration of the new parliament building. We are going to see the key features and we will also discuss why the new parliament building was required. Then we are going to discuss the production linked incentive scheme, that is your PLI scheme 2.0, which was there for IT hardware sector. So we are going to discuss the features, the key features of the scheme, what are the objectives, targeted segment, etc. will be discussed. Then there was a program, Divya Kala Shakti program. We are going to see all the details of Divya Kala Shakti 2023. Then PMJAY scheme was under news because it has provided the treatment worth 61,501 crore to the beneficiaries. We are going to discuss what are the key features and what were the benefits availed by the beneficiaries. Then in the science and technology section, ISRO has launched a new generation navigation satellite. We will see what is the satellite, what are the uses, etc. Then we will talk about a new exoplanet which was discovered, and this we will also learn what is an exoplanet. Then medium range ballistic missile Agni-1 test was fired from Odisha. So we are going to see why the Agni-1 is in news. Then in the agricultural sector, there were two news which were very, very important. The first one was direct seeding rice. Due to the lack of labor or water shortages, many regions in India, which were rice producing regions, are shifting to direct seeding rice. So we will see why this is happening, what are the benefits of these rice, what is the method used in the production or the direct seeding rice, how they are grown, etc. We will see. Then the world's largest green storage plan is planned by the government of India and it will be a pilot plan in the 10 districts. We will see what is this plan, how it is going to benefit us. Then your Delhi's Purana Killa was again in news due to the excavations going on in Delhi's Purana Killa. The new findings are there and it says that the pre-modern era signs have been found in these excavations. So we will discuss what has been found in the new excavations. Then in the IR section, India and Nepal has signed a pact on energy and transport. So we will discuss what is this pact about, what is the benefit of this pact. Then there was an exercise between India and Saudi Arabia. The exercise was named Al Muhaid Al Hindi 23. So we will discuss about this exercise also. Now in the polity section, we will talk about the sedition law because it was in news and Law Commission has given certain recommendations regarding the sedition law. So we will look at that. Then GDP expanded to your 6.1% in the last quarter of 2023. So we will also discuss that, and it is a very important news from the economy section because at times we see different comparisons being asked in the prelims examination in the statements that earlier this was the GDP, now this is the GDP, is it correct or not? So these kind of questions are asked. So you should have a knowledge of GDP expansion or it is not expanding, what are the reasons of not expanding, etc. So now let's start with the very first news, that is Global Annual to Decadal Climate Update 2023 to 2027 and the State of Global Climate 2022. Now this was in news because the World Meteorological Organization has released both the reports. Okay, so now why these reports are important and what are the key highlights of the report. Now when we talk about the decadal predictions which are done by your WMO का कहना ये है कि एनुअल मीन ग्लोबल सरफेस टेम्परेचर, दैट इज सालाना जो एवरेज ग्लोबल सरफेस टेम्परेचर बढ़ रहा है जो कि बिटवीन 2023-2027 उसका रेट क्या होगा, दैट विल बी 1.1 to 1.8 डिग्री सेल्सियस विच इज हायर देन द बेसलाइन टेम्परेचर. बेसलाइन टेम्परेचर्स कब डिफाइन हुए थे हमारे 1850 से 1900, जिसे हम प्री इंडस्ट्रियल लेवल्स भी कहते हैं, उससे 1.1 से 1.8 डिग्रीज हायर रहेंगे, ये WMO की रिपोर्ट कहती है. जब हम 2022 का डेटा देखते हैं, 2022 के हिसाब से ये जो राइज हुआ था वो था 1.15 डिग्रीज बेसलाइन से ज्यादा, एंड बाय 2027 द एवरेज एक्सीड इज गोइंग टू बी 1.5 डिग्रीज, ये कहा जा रहा है. दैट मीन बेस लाइन से 1.5 डिग्रीज टेम्परेचर ज्यादा बढ़ेगा. Now, why we are saying 1.5 degrees? What is the 1.5 degrees Celsius target? Now, all the countries have agreed that the global rise in the temperature should not exceed 1.5 degrees. That is, it is a global climate target. Okay, and this is aiming that by 2100, that is, by this year, we have to make sure that the global rise in temperature is not exceeding 1.5 degrees Celsius. And why this is important? Because so that the earth is not going into climate crisis, we want to prevent that. That is why it is important. Now let's look at the history of how we reached this 1.5 degree target. Earlier this target was 2 degrees, but because this target of 2 degrees was causing trouble to a lot of island nations, because we have heard in news a lot of time कि island nations जो है उनको submergence का खतरा ज्यादा है, क्योंकि सी लेवल राइज की वजह से आइलैंड नेशंस डूब रहे हैं. तो आइलैंड नेशंस ने क्या रिक्वेस्ट किया था कि ये 2 डिग्री नहीं होना चाहिए, ये 1.5 डिग्री सेल्सियस होना चाहिए. सो व्हेन इन 2010 COP16 हुई थी, तो कंट्रीज ने एग्री किया था कि हम 2 डिग्री सेल्सियस मेंटेन करेंगे, कि इससे ज्यादा ग्लोबल एवरेज टेम्परेचर नहीं राइज होना चाहिए. लेकिन 2015 में सभी पार्टीज जो थी, आइलैंड नेशन पार्टीज जिनको ज्यादा खतरा था, उन्होंने रिक्वेस्ट किया प्लीज इस टारगेट को 2 डिग्रीज की जगह 1.5 डिग्रीज रखा जाए. सो दिस टारगेट वॉज मेड टू 1.5 डिग्रीज की हम मेंटेन करेंगे कि प्री इंडस्ट्रियल लेवल से 1.5 डिग्री से ज्यादा टेम्परेचर राइज ना हो. So this was made a global target by IPCC in 2018 and since then सभी इस टारगेट को है फॉलो कर रहे हैं. ये टारगेट क्यों बनाया गया था? क्योंकि जो ग्लोबल इम्पैक्ट्स होंगे क्लाइमेट के, टेम्परेचर राइज के क्लाइमेट के ऊपर, जब हम कंपेयर करते हैं 1.5 डिग्रीज को 2 डिग्रीज को, बहुत डिफरेंस है. जैसे कि जब हम बोलते हैं कि आर्कटिक में सी आइस फ्री समर, जब अगर टेम्परेचर 1.5 डिग्री बढ़ेगा सिर्फ वंस पर सेंचुरी आएगा ये. लेकिन अगर टेम्परेचर 2 डिग्री से बढ़ता है वंस पर डिकेड, दैट मीन्स हर 10 साल में एक बार सी आइस फ्री समर आर्कटिक को फेस करना पड़ेगा. दैट मीन्स बर्फ वहां कम होगी. सी लेवल राइज की बात जब करते हैं, अगर सिर्फ 1.5 डिग्री बढ़ता है टेम्परेचर, सो इट इज गोइंग टू अफेक्ट अराउंड 31 to 69 मिलियन पीपल वर्ल्ड वाइड. बट अगर 2 डिग्रीज होता है, सो दिस अफेक्टेड पॉपुलेशन नंबर इंक्रीजेस टू 80 मिलियन. नाउ व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट एक्सट्रीम हीट, अगर 1.5 डिग्री राइज होता है तो सिर्फ 14% पॉपुलेशन अफेक्ट होगी, वेयर एज 2% राइज से 37% ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन इज गोइंग टू गेट अफेक्टेड. सिवियर ड्रॉट की जब बात करते हैं तो 350 मिलियन लोगों को अफेक्ट कर सकता है अगर 1.5 डिग्री टेम्परेचर राइज होता है. When we talk about 2 degree rise, 411, that means 411 million people are going to be affected. So in any case, you can see when the temperature is rising by 2 degrees, other than that the island nations are at risk, there are major challenges which are going to be faced by other nations also. Similarly, plant, not even humans, plant, coral reefs, animals, etc. are going to be get affected, and you will see 70 to 90% of the corals are going to be lost with a 1.5 degree rise. 66% of the insects, 8% of the plants, and 4% of the vertebrates are going to get distinct. And similarly, if the temperature rises 2%, the number is going to increase much more. So that is why this report says that we are moving towards the rise in temperature, that is 1.1 to 1.8 degrees, whereas the set temperature was 1.5 degrees. So the expected rise is going to cross the limit set by the every nation in the or by the IPCC, that is 1.5 degree. That is why this report becomes very, very important. Now we have talked about the impacts. Now what are the impacts on India specifically? In February 2023, India has witnessed hottest months, and this was since 1901. So the heat is increasing, the temperature is increasing, and the months are becoming more hot and hot in India. Then extreme weather conditions are witnessed. Then Indian monsoon was also affected due to this extreme heat, and this has resulted in wildfires also in Uttarakhand, and acute food shortages also have been the impact on India. Now, according to the Climate Change Performance Index 2023, India ranked 8th with a high performance after Denmark, Sweden, Chile and Morocco. So you need to know this index also. Now, being an emerging economy with development needs, it is attempting to balance its development needs with ongoing climate action, both at domestic and international levels, because we know that when a country is moving from developing to developed stage, the emissions, the carbon emissions, etc. are more. So India is trying to balance its needs at the domestic as well as the international level also. With domestic measures, what India is doing, India has a green hydrogen mission, with introduction of green bonds is there. India is performing fairly well despite contributing only to greenhouse emissions. And when we talk about international level, India has International Solar Alliance and Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, and India can prove to be a responsible climate player, keeping in mind that it has a long way to go in a very little time. So we can say, though India is moving towards a developed economy, but still it is keeping in mind कि हमें global emissions को इतना ज़्यादा नहीं बढ़ाना है कि वो बाद में हमारे लिए ही harmful हो. When we talk about at the world level, it has affected the crop yield negatively. It has posed a risk to agricultural pests, and diseases have increased in the past few days, and this is at the global level. Now, Ethiopia, Nigeria, South Sudan, Somalia, all these countries are facing acute food shortages. Okay, malnutrition is there, hunger is there, humanitarian assistance is required in these areas. Then we can see that heat waves are common now in Pakistan and India in 2022 also, which is leading to decline in the crop yield also. Floods are another impact which is there in the regions. Then there are certain regions which are experiencing drought conditions. So you can see कुछ areas में flooding की condition है, कुछ areas में extreme droughts आ रहे हैं, and this is all because of your climate change. And all this leads to what? Shortage of food basically. Now you can see there are thousands of people who are being displaced because of your floods, because of storm, heavy snowfall, droughts, etc. So this also raises a concern. Okay. Now this was about humans, how they are getting affected. But when we talk about aquatic and terrestrial ecosystem, they are also not immune to such changes. Because of the rise in temperatures, they get adversely affected too. Now another data by World Meteorological Organization is that this weather extremities have caused deaths of 2 million people, and it has incurred $4.3 trillion economic damages over the past 50 years. So now we can say that it is leading to economical losses also. Now another report, or we can say estimate, which was in news, was your joint malnutrition estimate. Now this was released by UNICEF, WHO and World Bank as a joint estimate. Okay. So it says that India continues to show a reduction in stunting and recorded 1.6 crore fewer stunted children under 5 years in 2022 than in 2012 year. Now what it means is that India में stunted जो बच्चे हैं उनका नंबर जो है वो रिड्यूस हो रहा है. 2012 में जो नंबर था उसके बाद 2022 में जो डेटा लिया गया है 1.6 करोड़ कम बच्चे अब सेम सिचुएशन को फेस करते हैं. आइए मेजर हाइलाइट्स देख लेते हैं. Stunting among children under 5 years in India dropped from prevalence rate of 41.6% in 2012 to 1.7% in 2022. So now you can see there is a drop in the number. Now the number has dropped from 52 lakhs to 36 lakhs. This was accompanied by India's share of global burden of stunting declining from 30% to 25% in the past decade. So when we talk about India's contribution or how India contributes to the global burden of stunting, the percentage has reduced from 30 to 25. Now there is another issue. Though the stunted children number has decreased in India, but despite the reduced stunting, wasting remains an issue, and it is prevalent at a rate of 18.7% in 2022 in India. Earlier, though this rate was 49%, but now it is 18.7%. Now, when we talk about overweight children, the number has increased from 2.2% to 2.8% in India. So we can say the stunted children are decreasing, but the overweight children are increasing in India. Now, globally, stunting declined from 2.63% to 2.3% in year 2022. So overall, also at the global level, the number of children who were stunted are declining. Though we can say that there were no improvement on the weight issues worldwide, not even in India, the worldwide also there were no improvements seen. Earlier the rate was 5.5%, now it has become 5.6%, and at global level it is 6.8% in 2022. अब JME रिपोर्ट ने एक और चीज हाईलाइट की है, क्योंकि जो 2025 का वर्ल्ड हेल्थ असेंबली ग्लोबल न्यूट्रिशन टारगेट है वो हम जिस तरीके से प्रोग्रेस कर रहे हैं वो मीट नहीं कर पाएंगे, और 2030 का जो सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल है, दैट इज SDG 2 का जो टारगेट है, वो भी अगर हम इसी तरह प्रोग्रेस करेंगे तो मीट नहीं कर पाएंगे. दैट इज वी नीड टू फास्टन आवर measures so that the number decreases very well. Now only about 1/3 of all the countries are on the track to halve the number of children affected by stunting by 2030. That means जितनी भी countries इन reports में या targets में participate कर रही हैं, उनमें से सिर्फ 1/3 ही अपने track पे हैं, that they are going to achieve the goals. Others are not on the track. Even fewer countries are expected to achieve the target of overweight. That is 2030 पे जो target set है कि इतने जो बच्चे हैं वो overweight का शिकार नहीं होने चाहिए, वो भी लग रहा है कि 1/3 से भी कम जो countries हैं वो ही achieve कर पाएंगी. Now let's move to the governance section, and let's see that the new parliament building was inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and he has used the single as the symbol of transfer of power in the inauguration ceremony. You can see this is the new parliament design. Now, what are the features of the new parliament? The new parliament has a new design, and it is in the area 65,000 square meter, and it has a triangular shape. And because of the triangular shape, the maximum area is being utilized, or we can say optimum space utilization is one of the features. The capacity of the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha has been increased. Now you can observe the two different themes in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, whereas Lok Sabha has your peacock theme and your Rajya Sabha has your lotus theme. This can be observed. Another important feature of the new parliament is Constitutional Hall. This is symbolic, or it says, it is symbolic of what? It says that the Indian citizens are the heart of our democracy. So it is a symbolically or physically puts the Indian citizens at heart of our democracy. Now, the another feature is your central lounge. Now, this will be complementing the open courtyard, will be place for members to interact with each other. So you can say there is a place for interaction for the other members too. Then it is Divyang friendly, that it is accessible by everybody who is disabled or not. So it is Divyang friendly also. The earlier parliament had problems, issues associated with that. Now it has modern facilities, or we can say the communication technology has been updated. Now the security system have been updated. All these are there. Now this is eco-friendly and economically and environmentally sustainable building, and it has been said that it is platinum rated green building also. Now 2.0 for IT hardware scheme. Now what is 2.0? Now the production linked incentive scheme, that is 2.0, has been launched for your information and technology hardware sector, and it was approved by cabinet, enhancing India's manufacturing capabilities and enhancing export. Now when we talk about PLI 1.0, this was for IT hardware and it was launched in 2021. Now the 2.0 version has came up. Now India's share in global electronics, why we are saying that IT hardware scheme is important, or the IT sector has IT sector is important, because global जो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का इंडिया का शेयर है वो 2014 की जब बात करें तो 1.2% था, बट व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट फाइनेंशियल ईयर 2021 to 2022 इट हैज इंक्रीज टू 3.75%. सो इट इज रिक्वायर्ड दैट हम अपने आईटी सेक्टर को एनहांस करें और उसको बढ़ावा देने के लिए कुछ स्कीम्स लेके आए. सो ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है इस स्कीम का? फाइनेंशियल इंसेंटिव्स देना है डोमेस्टिक मैन्युफैक्चरर्स को और अट्रैक्ट करना है लार्ज इन्वेस्टमेंट इन द वैल्यू चेन. दैट मीन्स वो प्रमोट करना चाहते हैं डोमेस्टिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, और इसके लिए क्या कर रहे हैं? वो फाइनेंशियल असिस्टेंस दे रहे हैं, फाइनेंशियल इंसेंटिव्स दे रहे हैं. दिस इज अ काइंड ऑफ अ इंसेंटिव स्कीम. नाउ टारगेट सेगमेंट क्या है? टारगेट सेगमेंट्स में आते हैं आपके लैपटॉप, टैबलेट, ऑल इन वन पीसी, सर्वर्स, अल्ट्रा स्मॉल फॉर्म फैक्टर्स, दैट इज यूएसएफएफ. ये सब जो है टारगेट सेक्टर्स हैं. आईटी के अंदर भी जो टारगेट सेक्टर्स है वो ये हैं. इस स्कीम का टेन्योर होगा 6 साल, बजट है 17,000 करोड़. और जो कंपनीज हैं उनको इंसेंटिव कैसे मिलेगा? नाउ दे शैल बी एप्लीकेबल ऑन नेट इंक्रीमेंटल सेल्स, दैट इज कितना इंक्रीमेंट हुआ है उनकी सेल्स पे मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करने के बाद, दैट इज 2022 से 23 के फाइनेंशियल ईयर की बात करेंगे एज अ बेस ईयर. नाउ द सीलिंग इन द डिफरेंट कंपनीज इज 4,500 crores for global companies, then 2,250 crores for hybrid, that is global and domestic companies, then 500 crore for domestic companies. So this is the incentive per company depending on the type of company. What will be the benefits of this scheme? The key benefits are going to be that the total production of about 3.35 lakh crore, that is the production is going to increase. Additional investment आएगी around 2,430 crore की इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में, and it will lead to generation of 75,000 additional direct jobs. That is, job creation is one thing, then additional investment in another thing, and the production is getting increased. Now another program, that is Divya Kala Shakti program, was in news. It was inaugurated at your Rudraksha Convention and Cultural Center, which is in your Varanasi, and it was done by the Secretary of Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, which is falling under your Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India. So you should remember that this program is falling under which ministry and which department. Now, department is Empowerment and Person with Disabilities and Ministry is Social Justice and Empowerment. Now, what is this program, Divya Kala Shakti 2023? Now, in this program, 100 artists from 6 states, ये कौन सी states थी? West Bengal, Odisha, Jharkhand, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand. They performed in this program. So, you need to remember these 6 states के नाम, that the artists in this program that was in 2023 are from these states. Now, where was the venue? As I told you, it was organized in Varanasi. Then organizing ministry, you need to remember, that is the cultural event, that is Divya Kala Shakti Witnessing Ability in Disability. It was organized by your Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment through CRC Lucknow. Then significance, why it is important, or why this program was significant, because it reflected a unique combination of folk as well as regional dances, which were from all the aforementioned regions, that is all the 6 regions we have mentioned, the 6 states which were participating in the program. Now, many children performed in this event, which was a great example of their intellectual, creative and latent abilities. So, we can say that the government organized great activities in this program. Now, let's talk about the participation in your Divya Kala Shakti 2023. It witnessed various dignitaries representing senior government officials. So not only the people from general public, or it was for disabled people, but the people from government, that is senior officials, creative personalities, educators, principals, various disability advocacy groups were participant in this program. And this was a 6th Kala Shakti 2023 program, which saw approximately 1600 spectators from various backgrounds. Now, among the attendees, public representatives, member of state administration, non-government organization, ASHA workers, Anganwadi workers, primary, secondary teachers, all were there. They attended the function, and exceptional performances were there by talented Divyang children and youth. So you need to understand that the people performing in this event, they were Divyang children and youth. Now let's move on to the another news, which is part of your governance section only, because it is about a government scheme, PMJAY. Now, what is your PMJAY? It is Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, and under that there is another scheme, that is ABPMJAY, Ayushman Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. And why this was in news? Because the cancer treatment, emergency care, orthopedic and urology, they have used the maximum number of benefits under this ABPMJAY Yojana, and this data was released by your Health Ministry. Now, what were the major highlights of this news was, or this data was? This Yojana has recorded 5 crore hospital admissions. Now, the number has increased. Admissions amounted to 61,501 crores under the scheme. That is, the people have taken the benefit of so much of amount. That is 61,000 crore approximately under the scheme. Now, when we talk about the 49% of the Ayushman card recipients, they were women. So now women have availed their health facilities or health benefits under the scheme. Now, PMJAY empaneled hospital network consists of 28,000 hospitals approximately, out of which 12,824 are private hospitals across the country. So you can see under the scheme, the network is very big. Now let's understand what is PMJAY scheme. Now, when Ayushman Bharat was launched, it was in 2017 a national health policy. Under that, a flagship scheme, that is Ayushman Bharat, was launched. And what was the vision? The vision was universal health coverage. Now, under your Ayushman Bharat, the second component is PMJAY, that is Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is a component of Ayushman Bharat. The scheme was launched on 23rd September 2018, 1 year after Ayushman Bharat, and it is the largest health assurance scheme also. It provides a coverage of 5 lakhs per family, hospitalization to over 12 crore poor and vulnerable families, and it provides cashless access to healthcare services also. And it covers up to 3 days of pre-hospitalization, 15 days of post-hospitalization. and pre-existing conditions are also covered from the very first day of this scheme, and there is no age restriction, family size restriction or gender restriction under the scheme. Now let's move further and talk about the science and technology section, in which there were recent important developments we saw and they were in news. The first one was that ISRO has launched a new generation navigation satellite, that is NVS-01, and it is India's first second generation satellite. That is, जो भी इंडिया का second generation satellite है, उसका सबसे पहला satellite is NVS-01, and it is part of NAVIC, that is Navigation by Indian Constellation Services का part है ये. की हाईलाइट्स पढ़ लेते हैं. NVS-01 जो है उसका वेट अराउंड 2232 kgs है इस सैटेलाइट का, एंड ये हेवीएस्ट इन कॉन्स्टेलेशन है. इट वाज लॉन्च्ड बाय GSLV रॉकेट्स. द सैटेलाइट, it has indigenously developed rubidium atomic clock. So two things you need to remember, that it has an atomic clock and it is indigenously developed. Okay, why this clock is used? It is used to provide accurate locations. Now it has a mission life for around 12 years, which is in itself a longer than 10-year life for first generation satellites. जो existing हमारी first generation satellites हैं, उनका लाइफ स्पैन जो था 10 years था, लेकिन ये सेकेंड जनरेशन सैटेलाइट है विद एन इनहांस्ड लाइफ दैट इज 12 years. नाउ व्हाट it is going to do is it will send signals in the third frequency, that is L1, जिससे क्या होगा, जिससे इंटरऑपरेबिलिटी विद अदर सैटेलाइट्स जो है वो हमारी इंक्रीज होगी. इससे हमें रियल टाइम पोजीशनिंग, रियल टाइम सर्विसेज ओवर इंडिया and around the region approximately 1500 kilometers around the Indian mainland हमें available हो जाएगा. Now let's talk about what is your NAVIC, that is Navigation by Indian Constellation. This NAVIC was earlier known as Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, that is IRNSS. It is designed with constellation of 7 satellites. Now 3 are placed in the geostationary orbit, 4 are placed in inclined geosynchronous orbit. Now it offers 2 services, that is your SPS, Standard Position Services for civilian, that is the common people of the India, then restricted services for strategic users only. Now 2 services are provided in both L5 and S-band. Now these are the 2 technical terms of the science that where it provides both the services. So you need to remember L5, which is 1176.45 megahertz frequency. Then there is a S-band with a megahertz frequency of 2498.028. Now, what are the applications of this regional navigation system? It has use in terrestrial, aerial, marine navigation. Then it is helpful in disaster management. It gives precise timing. It helps in scientific research too. Now, a new exoplanet was also discovered, and the new planet is Jupiter-sized exoplanet. That means it is such a big exoplanet that it is similar to the size of the Jupiter, and it has highest density till now, and the mass is 13 times that of a Jupiter. Now it has been discovered by international team of scientists, which was led by Professor Abhijit Chakrabarti. This was at Exoplanet Research Group of Physical Research Laboratory, that is PRL, Ahmedabad. So they have discovered this new exoplanet. Now let's talk about what are the features or what is the name of this new planet. It is called TOI 4603b or HD 45134b, and the density is approximately 14 gram per centimeter cube, and it is the highest till date, and the mass is 13 times of Jupiter. Now where it is located? It is located 731 light years away, and it is orbiting a subgiant F-type star. The name of the star is TOI 4603, which was discovered by NASA. Okay, now NASA's training exoplanet survey satellite, that is TESS. So this planet, जिसको ये exoplanet जो discover हुआ है वो orbit करता है, वो NASA ने discover किया था. Now this discovery is made using indigenously made PRL advanced radial velocity Abu Sky search spectrograph, that is called PARS. Now why this name is important? Because first of all ये हमारी इंडिया की सर्च है. सेकंड, इंडिजीनियसली मेड ही जो PRL है उससे किया गया है. सो ये पारस जो स्पेक्ट्रोग्राफ है वो इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है. एंड इट इज लोकेटेड एट माउंट आबू, एंड दिस वाज डन एट PRL ओनली, अहमदाबाद. अदर एक्सोप्लैनेट जो अभी तक डिस्कवर किया है इंडिया ने वो है K2-236b. दिस वाज डिस्कवर्ड इन 2018 and one were discovered in 2021, TOI 1789b. Now the names are at times important. You should have certain idea about the names. You should not remember exact names, but the year should be important. For example, till now, India has discovered 3 exoplanets. One was in 2018, other was in 2021, then another is in 2023. So you should know that and how it was discovered using indigenous technology or international technology. That is also important. Now we have talked about the new exoplanet. But what is an exoplanet? Exoplanet is a planet beyond our solar system. That is, it is not part of our solar system. जो most of the exoplanets होते हैं वो अदर स्टार्स को ऑर्बिट करते हैं, लेकिन एक और टाइप का एक्सोप्लैनेट होता है जिन्हें कहते हैं फ्री फ्लोटिंग एक्सोप्लैनेट्स, जिनको हम रोग प्लैनेट्स भी कहते हैं. ये जनरली ऑर्बिट करते हैं एक गैलेक्टिक सेंटर को. नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट द कॉम्पोजिशन ऑफ एक्सोप्लैनेट. दे कैन बी वेरी रॉकी, जैसे कि हमारा अर्थ है, या वो गैस रिच हो सकते हैं, जैसे कि जुपिटर है, सैटर्न है. So they can be rocky or gas rich. Now massive giant exoplanets have mass greater than 4 times that of the Jupiter when we talk about the mass giant exoplanets. Next, there was a medium range ballistic missile. Which missile is that? It is Agni-1. The test fire was done from Odisha and it was a successful training launch of this missile. It was carried by Strategic Force Command from APJ Abdul Kalam Island, Odisha on the Thursday. Now let's talk about Agni-1. It has a range of 700 to 900 kilometers. It carries a nuclear warhead. It has estimated payload of 1000 kgs and it is a single stage solid fuel missile. Now these things are very, very important. At times what happens is that you remember that Agni-1 was fired or it was test fired from APJ Abdul Kalam Island. But in UPSC what they do is they ask the features of the missile. So it is very important. So you should remember what it carries, what is the estimated payload, what is the range of the missile, what type of fuel it works on. So these are the things become very, very important. Now let's move on towards the agriculture related news. The very first is your direct seeding rice, that is called DSR. Now the report has one new report. It says that due to labor shortages and rain getting delayed because the climate is changing and due to that rain is also getting affected, the climate is getting affected. This has pushed farmers in several leading rice growing states to adopt DSR method. Now to understand this, let's understand what is DSR method, why the farmers are adopting DSR method. Direct seed rice, this is also called broadcasting seed technique and it is a water saving method. Now you know that the growing paddy or rice, it requires a lot of water. So we need a technology which is water saving. So DSR method is water saving. Now what happens in DSR system, rice seeds are directly sown into the field. Earlier traditional method is what? The saplings are grown in your nursery, then they are planted into the field. But in DSR, you can directly plant the seed into the fields. Okay. So that is why, because the labor is short and the rain is not adequate. As the labor is short, you do not have to do the procedure involved in your nursery, or you do not have to wait for the time period involved in the nursery, because 25 to 35 days are required for the sapling to grow and then it is planted into the fields. So that time is saved. Now this was the DSR method. Now, but at times what happens in the examination is that direct questions are not asked. So you should know what are the climatic requirements for the production of rice or rice production. One of the requirement is hot and humid climate. The regions which have high humidity and they have prolonged sunshine and supply of water is adequate are the key regions or best suited regions for the production of your rice. Then average temperature requirement throughout the life period is around 21 to 37 degrees. These kind of questions are also often asked in the examination. So you should remember the requirements too. Now, what are the advantages of DSR? It is an efficient method. It is sustainable, economically viable because it uses less labor, etc. Then no significant reduction in the yield is seen. So optimal conditions अगर हैं तो आपकी yield भी अच्छी ही होती है. So it is another advantage. Then it does not involve the usage of much water and labor. So it is conserving the scarce resources also. बट कुछ कॉन्स्टेंट्स भी हैं डीएसआर मेथड के, जैसे कि सीड्स एक्सपोर्ट्स हो सकते हैं आपके बर्ड्स को, पेस्ट को, वीड मैनेजमेंट इज वन ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम्स, देन हायर रिस्क ऑफ लॉजिंग इज देयर, रिस्क ऑफ पुअर और नॉन यूनिफॉर्म क्रॉप एस्टैब्लिशमेंट इज अनदर constraint of the method. Now, what are the regions where this kind of technique is being adopted? Is Punjab, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, and Andhra Pradesh में एक एनजीओ है जिन्होंने दिस मेथड को अप्लाई किया है, जिसके तहत उन्होंने 4000 हेक्टेयर का जो लैंड है उस पे ये डीएसआर मेथड से राइस ग्रो कर रहे हैं. सो दिस बिकम्स वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. Now, recently, Union Cabinet has approved Constitution and Empowerment of IMC, that is Inter-Ministerial Committee for Facilitation of World's largest grain storage plan in the cooperative sector, and this will be implemented as a pilot project in 10 districts. What are the major highlights? Now, it will set up various type of agricultural infrastructure at primary agricultural credit societies, that is your PACS level. And what are these agricultural facilities? It will be warehouses, custom hiring centers, then processing units will be established. Now, IMC will be constituted under your chairmanship of Minister of Cooperation with members from Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Then you have Ministry of Consumer Affairs and Food and Public Distribution. Ministry of Food Processing Industry will be involved. What will be the benefit of this plan? It will strengthen PAC and it will also empower PAC to undertake other initiatives. What are these initiatives? This will be functioning as a procurement center for state agencies or food corporations in India. It will serve as a fair price shop. It will set up common processing units. Then creation of decentralized storage capacity at local levels. This will reduce food grain wastage also. This will also be done. So all these are the benefits of implementing this plan. Now moving further towards the history. Now as I told you that at Purana Killa in Delhi, excavations are going on and a fresh round of excavation was held, and in that we have found the evidence of continuous history of the city since the pre-Mauryan era. The findings include the shards of painted grey ware pottery, which is usually dated around 1200 to 600 BC. So you can say that the evidence of that the city is older and date back to pre-Mauryan era are suggested by the findings. Now, what are the key findings or the important facts about this excavation? Now, the ongoing excavation, what is the aim of that? It establishes a complete chronology of the site. That when did this site was established? What is the history of this site? What is the chronology of the site? What are the findings which have been found? A stone image of Vaikuntha Vishnu has been found. A terracotta plaque of Gaja Lakshmi. Then a stone image of Ganesha. Terracotta figurines of humans and animals. Beads of various stones. A bone needle, etc. has been found in this excavation. Now this excavation, what it reveals that the human habitation and activities are spanning over 2500 at this site. Now, this also reveals 9 cultural levels which are representing different historical periods, which include pre-Mauryan, Mauryan, Sunga, Kushana, Gupta, post-Gupta, Rajput, Sultanate and the Mughal. So it represents all these time period that existed on this site. Now, let's talk about Purana Killa. It was built by Mughal Emperor Humayun and it was part of your new city of Dinpanha and it was in your 16th century. Apart from archaeology, when we talked about the textual sources, that is where it is mentioned in your N.A. Akbari of Abdul Fazl, which was written in 16th century. It founds the mention of the fort and it says that it is a site at Indraprastha. Okay. Now, India and Nepal have signed several pacts which are on energy and transport. Now, this says that India is going to import around 10,000 megawatt of electricity from Nepal. Prime Minister Modi has said this. And this highlights the close cultural link between the two countries also. He also said that the project related to Ramayana circuit is going to be fast-tracked. What are the highlights of these pacts which have been signed? Now, both the countries have signed a series of agreements which are related to energy and transport, and this will include that Nepal's hydropower will be transported or export of Nepal's hydropower to Bangladesh. It will be done via Indian territory. India would take forward the 2022 India-Nepal vision, which is document for cooperation in the power sector, and it sets an ambitious goal in India-Nepal power trade and transmission also. A long-term power trade agreement has also been signed between India and Nepal, under which the 10,000 megawatt of electricity will be imported from Nepal in the coming years. A memorandum of understanding between your NHPC and VUCL, that is Vidyut Utpadan Company Limited of Nepal, was signed for the development of Fukot Karnali hydroelectric project and a project development agreement for Lower Arun hydroelectric power project between your SJVN, which is of India, and Investment Board of Nepal has also been signed. A 35-kilometer cross-border railway line linking Jayanagar in Bihar to Kurtha in Nepal will be made, And both the countries have also signed a revised transit agreement that will help Nepal access India's inland waterways also. So these are the highlights of the, we can say, the pacts signed between India and Nepal recently. Now, what is the significance of this pact? This pact will enhance the common treatment of Indian and Nepali citizens in the two countries in terms of residence, property, business, movement, etc. So it is going to enhance that. Another news, that is the news about the Al Muhaid Al Hindi 23 exercise. This was a bilateral exercise between your Saudi Arabia and India, which provides a platform for the two countries to strengthen their military ties and deepen cooperation between their navies. So it was a naval exercise between the two countries. What was the mandate? It was aiming to carry out tactical search and rescue operations and electronic welfare drills to enhance interoperability, that is between the two countries, how the operations are done related to these activities, that will be improved. Now, Indian Navy and Royal Saudi Naval Force, that is RSNF, were the participants in the exercise. From India side, INS Tarkash, INS Subhadra, Dornier Maritime Patrol Aircraft, that is MPA, participated in the exercise. And from your RSNF side, HMS Badr and Abdul Aziz MH-60R Hello and UAV were the participants. Now, what were the activities involved in the exercise? It was a 3-day exercise at the sea because it was a naval exercise. Diverse range of maritime operations were conducted. Al Muhaid Al Hindi 23 exercise concluded with a debriefing session at the sea, which was followed by traditional steam pass ceremony. So, you need to remember in this what was the mandate, who were the participants. You should remember the name of the ships also which participated, or the aircrafts which participated in the exercise. Another thing which is important about any of the exercise you read in the newspaper, it is naval, army, military, what kind of exercise was that, and between what countries it was done. If one country is India, what was the another country, or when it was held, what was the mandate. Moving further to the polity section, sedition law can be retained, but with your safeguards, Law Commission. Now, before understanding what Law Commission has recommended on sedition law, let's understand what is sedition first. Sedition is any offense against the state, that is the government, and it is covered in the Indian Penal Code as section 124A. Now, sedition penalizes any material which can bring hatred, contempt, or disaffection for the government and has potential to incite violence or public disorder in the nation. That is, any act of the person which can bring hatred, contempt towards the government and it can incite violence will be considered sedition. Now, as per the Indian Penal Code, whoever brings hatred, contempt, exciting disaffection towards the established government by law, that means जो government by law establish करी गई है, by any means, words हो सकते हैं spoken या written, visible representation हो सकती है या otherwise, that person or whosoever he or she is shall be punished as per the IPC. While talking about sedition, one thing should be kept in mind that criticism of government policies or measures taken by the government does not come under the ambit of sedition. Anything which amounts to these features will come under the ambit of sedition. Okay, but the general criticism to policies is not sedition. Now, when we talk about sedition, it is cognizable and non-bailable offense, non-compoundable offense, which is entitled to life imprisonment also, and maximum punishment is your life imprisonment. Then, with or without fine, the punishment can be there. And now, sedition is considered to be the most serious offense, and it is said that it is the violation of Article 19. Now, what the Law Commission, that is the 22nd Law Commission, has said regarding the sedition or the section 124A of the IPC under the report, let's see that. You need to remember it was 22nd Law Commission which has given the recommendations. Now, the sedition being a colonial law, not a valid ground for it repeal. That the people were saying, the debate was going on that the sedition law should be repealed. But the Law Commission has said just because it is a colonial law, that cannot be the ground for it getting repealed. That is the law getting repealed. Now, in view of the misuse of section 124A, what does this mean is that the section 124A, it is said that it has been misused a number of times or it can be misused So it says the panel has recommended the center issues a model guidelines to curb any misuse, that a proper guideline should be framed which prevents the misuse of section 124A of IPC. Another recommendation is that FIR can be filed only after the preliminary inquiry, and permission from the government is required by amending the section 154 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, that is CRPC. Now, amendment of section 124A should be done to align with Kedarnath case, which says the presence of tendency of inciting of violence. So, the three main recommendations by the committee are these, or the Law Commission, 22nd Law Commission are these. Now, the economy news is GDP has expanded 6.1% in 2022 to 2023 last quarter. Now, when we talk about India's growth, the GDP growth has accelerated to 6.1% January to March 2023 quarter. Now, this means that the expected growth of the economy was 7%, but this expansion had led to the estimated growth of 7.2%. Okay, and this data was released by NSO, that is National Statistical Office. Now, before understanding the GDP growth of India, let's understand what is gross value added. It is the value of goods and services produced minus the value of intermediate consumption. That is, whatever amount of goods or money was spent while producing that goods and services, intermediate consumption, माइनस कर देते हैं जब हम टोटल प्रोड्यूस गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज की वैल्यू से, तो हमारे पास ग्रॉस वैल्यू एडेड आता है. ग्रॉस वैल्यू एडेड का फॉर्मूला क्या होता है? जो भी टोटल जीडीपी है, सब्सिडीज ऑन प्रोडक्ट्स जब उसमें ऐड करते हैं, लेकिन टैक्सेस जो प्रोडक्ट्स पे है हमें माइनस करना है, उसके बाद हमें ग्रॉस वैल्यू एडेड मिल जाता है. नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट एनएसओ हु हैज रिलीज्ड दिस डेटा. नाउ एनएसओ वाज क्रिएटेड बाय मर्जिंग योर नेशनल सैंपल सर्वे ऑफिस एनएसएसओ, कंप्यूटर Center and Central Statistical Office CSO, both combining both the organization or merging them resulted into National Statistical Office, which was the first envisaged by your Rangarajan Commission. It is a nodal agency for planned development of the statistical system, and it regulates and maintains norms and standards in the fields of statistics. Now let's look at the key highlights regarding the GDP growth of the country. Now, the gross value added in the economy has reckoned to have risen to 7% in 2022 to 2023, whereas in 2021 to 2022 it was 8.1%. So, you can say we have said the GDP growth has accelerated, but GVA has decreased. Now, manufacturing GVA growth slid to just 1.3 from 11.1 a year earlier. And despite there was a 4.5% rebound in the final quarter after 6 months of contraction. That is, for the 6 months, there was a contraction in the market. Then after in the final quarter, there was an increase in 4.5, but still the average is 1.3%. But in the 8 broad economic sectors or segments, the high GVA growth was noticed. These are the agriculture. GVA grew 4%. Earlier it was 3.5%. In real estate, GVA grew to 7.1%, whereas it was 4.7% into 2021-2022. Other sectors are your trade, hostels, then transport, communications. In these sectors, we have seen the growth in GVA. So you can say this is the slow expansion has been shown in this graph. You can compare it with July 2020. You can see the dip is here. Then in July 2021, the GDP increased. In March 2023, it is somewhere here near 6.1. So this was all about the last week's important news regarding your prelims examination. And these are important because from the key highlights, or you can say the statements which were there in the newspaper, many questions in the prelims are asked, and the statement related questions basically are from the newspapers only. And in the recent prelims also, you can see a lot of statements were directly from the newspaper. So this is it for today. Thank you.